Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be watching a video titled COVID Blow to Christianity. This is by blogging Theology. So I'm not sure what is the relationship between COVID and a blow to Christianity. So, well, without further ado, let's watch.
COVID blow to Christianity. Only a third of younger Christians intend to return to church regularly after the pandemic. There's an article in the UK's leading Christian magazine called Premier Christianity. I'll link to it below. And in an article today, it's headlined, "Will COVID Empty the Pews?" And it says only a third of younger Christians intend to return to church regularly after the COVID pandemic. I'll just read a few paragraphs from this because it highlights a shocking fact that Christianity, which is already very weak in the West, particularly in places like Britain, is set to decline even further because of an unexpected event, the pandemic, of course. So the article goes as follows. The 19th century evangelist Dwight L. Moody, an American evangelist, once said that the church attendance is as vital to a disciple as a transfusion of rich, healthy blood to a sick man. So having people going to church is really, really important for Christianity. Yet in-person church-going, the only kind most Christians previously knew, has seen almost as many doom and gloom headlines in recent years as COVID itself. And a recent survey does little to counter that picture, says the article. According to research from Premier, who produced this article, and World Vision, 32% of 18 to 34-year-olds who used to attend church regularly don't plan on going back. The picture is even worse when looking at the 35 to 54 age bracket. 36% are reluctant to return, meaning the church's existing problem of attracting young families is only going to worsen. Now, why is this? And I think that this is the question. I think we're looking here at a combination of factors. Lots of people who were perhaps nominal Christians, weren't that attached, but nevertheless went out of habit. Perhaps maybe their parents were Christians or their partners were Christians. These people have now lost the habit of going because of COVID the last year or so, and so they're not keen on going back. But also, and the article's not saying this, but I'm saying this, this is my own intuition, is that most of the church these days is pretty indistinguishable from the surrounding culture in terms of its values, in terms of the way it sees the world, and its interests. So most churches will support the new sexual moralities, the new views on gay marriage and trans and so on. And they're pretty much indistinguishable. And when you go to these buildings, most of them are pretty alien looking. They don't tend to resonate with people's everyday lives. Maybe they're not particularly well heated, or they're old and decrepit. A lot of buildings, church buildings, unfortunately, are in a state of disrepair and very costly to repair. So they're not that comfortable to be in. And also people...
So is that also valid for the US, I think? My question, right? Because I think most of those who comment, not really most, because some of you who if you happen to be Christian, right? Because some of those that comment are from the European side. I think many are from the US. I think I haven't really checked at where geographically you come from, right? But because from my experience in Europe, right, I have been in France, I have gone to Italy, Switzerland, Vienna is what? Where else? So several countries, Czech Republic, Poland. It doesn't seem that because I think even in the discussion in Europe, right? Because in Islam, this is a specific discussion about certain fiqh issue where eating the slaughter animals of Ahlul Kitab, people of the book, right? For those who hold on to that fiqh, so the question is, can we eat here? Because this chicken, for example, is the one that slaughter is Christian, for example, so that's people of the book, we can eat it. So for those who hold on to that fiqh, in Malaysia there's not many, but because when I was in Europe, we are exposed to a bigger conversation in fiqh. But even if you hold on to that, then the question is, where in Europe can you find, that applicable? Because in France, obviously, it's not really a Christian nation, right? It's basically an atheist community. So apparently, when we discuss about that, it's only like, I think Poland, is still Christian. where most of it is no longer a Christian nation. Hence, even if you believe that you can eat the people of the books slaughtered chicken, for example, but now this is an atheist society for the most part, then you still cannot. So that is interesting, because I think in Europe, and I assume in UK as well, the decline of Christianity especially in the sense of really the belief system as well as the practice, right? I'm not saying just affiliation. It's a huge decline, but I think in the US, in some region, it's still a strong Christian unit, right? So I'm interested to know whether this is also happening there or not, or is this more European issues where it's before is even already in a decline, steep decline. So what more after the pandemic?
We've just lost the habit of thinking about faith seriously in our secularizing West, and this is a problem that affects everyone, of course. I mean, I'm hesitant to contrast this with the fortunes of mosque going, because it is very, very different with mosques. The mosques are full of young people, mostly young men and middle-aged guys as well, and you know, they're growing, and people just can't find places to go. They meet in converted shops, they meet in converted buildings. Obviously, they meet in purpose-built mosques as well. But the problem there is accommodating the sheer numbers of people who want to go to worship God in the mosque, particularly on Fridays, of course, but other times of the week as well. Muslims pray 5 times a day, ideally in congregation, you know, together in a place like a mosque.
Yeah, I remember, right? Because I have made a post on YouTube, a picture where I said that this is what my mosque nearby my house is doing. There's a distancing in the congregation. So I asked, and someone says someone commented from Somali or Somalia. Is it Somali? He said that there's no such thing as implementation of distancing in Somali. So that is interesting, because in Malaysia, when pandemic is hitting, you know, it is in high increase, etc. So there's a concern. So it is implementing several things in terms of limiting the number of people that can go to the mosque, etc. It does trigger some response. Like some people are angry. Why are we not being allowed to enter the mosque? Why are the gate closing after only several capacity number, because normally it's overflowing, especially in Friday, right? So it is interesting. One thing that I think, because only recently in my mosque, where the distancing is still applied, but at a much less of a distancing, meaning that the distance between you and the next person is reduced. I think recently, because when I come, I noticed that they put the marking where you should line up, right? So I realized something, because all this while before, the masjid, not just in Friday. The Friday is obviously people overflowing in the road, etc. But even in the normal 5 daily prayer, the mosque always full. Meaning when I want to enter the if I come late, right, the prayer already started, I come and it's always full to the back, right? But when they close back the distancing, the soft becomes, meaning a less number of soft, right? So I realized that it is full because of the distancing, because if otherwise it will be just like half the prayer hall, right? That will be half is like maybe 80 people in congregation in the normal 5 daily prayer, but that 80 already fill the entire hall if the original distancing, right? So when it's close, make it closer. So my point is, even 80 people at the normal one of the 5 times in a day, or 60 to 80 roughly, it seems small. It seems not that much. So I'm interested in terms of Christianity. I mean, in the church going, how affected are they?
So the picture in Christianity, Islam is very different. One of decline and lack of interest in the Christian world, compared with the opposite, really, in the Muslim world, where Islam is reviving. And it's reviving in precisely those demographics where Christianity is weakest. So the average age, I read recently, of Church of England attendance, the people who go to church, the average age is 60. Okay, so these people are virtually retiring. The average age of Muslims is much, probably half that or less, in their 20s and 30s. So you know where the future is going. You can see the trajectory.
Okay, so that I think maybe only applies in the West. I think because I think in Muslim majority country, the average age, I think maybe 30 plus to 40. I think, because the majority is still, meaning the elders are still packing the masjid. Of course, the youngsters are there as well, but I think why I'm saying that in the West, the average for Muslim masjid goers can be much lower, because perhaps there's not that many of the elders in the Muslim community in a sheer number that push the average age up, I think. So it can be quite low, because those who become Muslim, etc., is on the lower side of the age. But in the Muslim majority of the country, I don't think the average age can go below 30. I don't think, unless, meaning that would indicate that the elders are no longer going to masjid, right? Yeah.
In terms of the realities of faith in the West and throughout the world, really. So I'm personally unhappy the church is declining. I'd like to see a strong Christian faith in Britain. Why? Because to offset the consumerism, the materialism, the atheism, which seems to have settled on our country in a particularly toxic way, I think, stopping us seeing the transcendent, looking to God for guidance, to worship and to lead our lives.
So that what he's just said, it brings an interesting question in my head, at least interesting to me, right? The shifting, I think, is quite obvious, but I'm interested. I assume much more of Christian shift towards atheism or free thinking, or not really practicing, compared to those becoming Muslim. That's my assumption. Right, I'm not sure whether there's statistic on this. And in Muslim majority country, I think as well, right? Meaning that Muslim that is still officially Muslim but left real practicing, etc. I think that the number is maybe huge, of course, compared to those who actually leave officially to become Christian or something else.
So this is the sad case. The church, as I say, was already declining rapidly, has now taken a further major body blow because of the COVID pandemic, and we're going to see even more empty pews in the months and years to come. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you.
What is pews? Is it like a congregation of a church? But anyway, that's basically some updates or some reality in the Britain. What's happening, maybe if something is the opposite in your part of the world, please do share, because this is specific location, right? So it doesn't represent the entire Christianity, I would say. So feel free to share, feel free to comment. With that, thank you for watching. See you next time.